Hi guys, I'm back. Today I'm going to read Joshua 4-8, Psalm 97 and Proverbs 9. Let's get started. Joshua 4-8. After the whole nation had gone across the Jordan River, the Lord spoke to Joshua. He said, Choose 12 men from among the people. Choose one from each tribe. Tell them to get 12 stones from the middle of the river. They must pick them up from right where the priest stood. They must carry the stones over with all of you, and they must put them down at the place where you will stay tonight. So Joshua called together the 12 men he had appointed from among the Israelites. There was one man from each tribe. He said to them, Go back to the middle of the Jordan River. Go to where the ark of the Lord your God is. Each of you must pick up a stone. You must carry it on your shoulder. There will be as many stones as there are tribes in Israel. The stones will serve as a reminder to you. In days to come, your children will ask you, What do these stones mean? Tell them that the Lord cut off the flow of water in the Jordan River. Tell them its water stopped flowing when the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord went across. The stones will always remind the Israelites of what happened there. So the Israelites did as Joshua commanded them. They took 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan River. There was one stone for each of the tribes of Israel. It was just as the Lord had told Joshua. The people carried the stones with them to their camp. There they put them down. Joshua also piled up 12 stones in the middle of the river. He piled them up right where the priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant had stood, and they are still there to this very day. The priests who carried the Ark remained standing in the middle of the Jordan River. They stayed there until the Lord had done everything the Lord had commanded Joshua. It was just as Moses had directed Joshua. All the people went across quickly. As soon as they did, the Ark of the Lord and the priest also went across to the other side. The people were watching them. Among the people who went across the river were men from the tribes of Reuben and Gad and half of the tribe of Manasseh. The men were ready for battle. They went across ahead of the rest of the Israelites. It was just as Moses had directed them. There were about 40,000 of them. All of them were ready for battle. They went across in front of the Ark of the Lord. They marched to the plains around Jericho. They were prepared to go to war. That day the Lord honored Joshua in the eyes of all the Israelites. They had respect for Joshua as long as he lived. They respected him just as much as they had respected Moses. Then the Lord spoke to Joshua. He said, Command the priests to come up out of the Jordan River. They are carrying the ark where the tablets of the covenant law are kept. So Joshua gave a command to the priests. He said, Come up out of the Jordan River. Then the priests came up out of the river. They were carrying the ark of the covenant of the Lord. As soon as they stepped out on dry ground, the water of the Jordan began to flow again. It went over its banks, just as it has done before. On the 10th day of the first month, the people went up out of the Jordan River. They came to Gilgal on the eastern border of Jericho. Joshua set up the 12 stones at Gilgal. They were the ones the people had taken out of the Jordan. Then he spoke to the Israelites. He said, In days to come, your children after you will ask their parents, What do these stones mean? Their parents must tell them, Israel went across the Jordan River on dry ground. The Lord your God dried up the Jordan for you until you had gone across it. He did to the Jordan River the same thing he had done to the Red Sea. He dried up the Red Sea ahead of us until we had gone across it. He did it so that all the nations on earth would know that he is powerful. He did it so that you would always have respect for the Lord your God. All the Amorite and Canaanite kings heard how the Lord had dried up the Jordan River. They heard how he had dried it up for the Israelites until they had gone across it. The Amorite kings lived west of the Jordan. The kings of Canaan lived along the Mediterranean Sea. When all those things heard what the Lord had done, they were terrified. They weren't brave enough to face the Israelites anymore. At the time the Lord said to Joshua, "Make knives out of flint. Use them to circumcise the men of Israel." So Joshua made knives out of flint. Then he used them to circumcise the men of Israel at Gibeath Haraloth. Here's why Joshua circumcised them. All the men who came out of Egypt had died. They died while they were wandering through the Sinai desert. They were the men old enough to serve in the army. All the men who came out had been circumcised, but all the men born in the desert during the journey from Egypt hadn't been circumcised. The Israelites had moved around in the desert for 40 years. By the end of that time, all the men old enough to serve in the army when they left Egypt had died. That's because they hadn't obeyed the Lord. He had made a promise to them. He had told them that they wouldn't see the land. It's the land he had promised to their people to give us. It's a land that has plenty of milk and honey. Because they hadn't obeyed him, they raised up their sons to take their place. They were the ones Joshua circumcised. They hadn't been circumcised yet. That's because no one had circumcised them during the journey. So Joshua circumcised all those men. The whole nation remained in the camp until the men were healed. Then the Lord spoke to Joshua. He said, "Today I have taken away from you the shame of being slaves in Egypt." That's why the place where the men were circumcised has been called Gilgal to this very day. The Israelites celebrated the Passover feast. They observed it on the evening of the 14th day of the month. They did it while they were camped at Gilgal on the plains around Jericho. The day after the Passover, they ate some of the food grown in the land. On that same day, they ate grain that had been cooked. They also ate bread made without yeast. The manna stopped coming down the day after they ate the food grown in the land. The Israelites didn't have manna anymore. Instead, that year they ate food grown in Canaan. When Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him. The man was holding a sword. He was ready for battle. Joshua went up to him. He asked, "Are you on our side, or are you on the side of our enemies?" "I am not on either side," he replied. "I have come on as the commander of the Lord's army." Then Joshua fell with his face to the ground. He asked the man, "What message does my Lord have for me?" The commander of the Lord's army replied, "Take off your sandals. The place you are standing on is holy ground." So Joshua took them off. Chapter 6. The gates of Jericho were shut tight and guarded closely because of the Israelites. No one went out. No one came in. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "I have handed Jericho over to you. I have also handed over to you its king and its fighting men. March around the city once with all your fighting men. In fact, do it for 6 days. Have 7 priests get trumpets made out of ram's horns. They must carry them in front of the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times. Tell the priests to blow the trumpets as you march. You'll hear them blow a long blast on the trumpets. When you do, tell the whole army to give a loud shout. The wall of the city will fall down. Then the whole army will march up to the city. Everyone will go straight in." So Joshua the son of Nun called for the priests. He said to them, "Go and get the ark of the covenant of the Lord. I want 7 of you to carry trumpets in front of it." He gave an order to the army. He said, "Move out. March around the city. Some of the fighting men must march in front of the ark of the Lord." When Joshua had spoken to the men, there were 7 priests went forward. They were carrying the 7 trumpets as they marched in front of the ark of the Lord. They were blowing the trumpets. The ark of the Lord's covenant was carried behind the priest. Some of the fighting men marched ahead of the priests who were blowing the trumpets. The others followed behind the ark and guarded all the priests. That whole time the priests were blowing the trumpets. But Joshua had given an order to the army. He had said, "Don't give a war cry. Don't raise your voices. Don't say a word until the day I tell you to shout. Then shout." So he had the ark of the Lord carried around the city once. Then the army returned to camp. They spent the night there. Joshua got up early the next morning. The priests went and got the ark of the Lord. The 7 priests carrying the 7 trumpets started out. They marched in front of the ark of the Lord. They blew the trumpets. Some of the fighting men marched ahead of them. The others followed behind the ark and guarded all of them. The priests kept blowing the trumpets. On the 2nd day they marched around the city once. Then the army returned to camp. They did all those things for 6 days. On the 7th day they got up at sunrise. They marched around the city, just as they had done before. But on that day they went around it 7 times. On the 7th time around, the priests blew a long blast on the trumpets. Then Joshua gave a command to the army. He said, "Shout! The Lord has given you the city. The city and everything in it must be set apart to the Lord to be destroyed. But the prostitute Rahab and all those with her in her house must be spared. That's because she hid the spies we sent. But keep away from the things that have been set apart to the Lord. If you take any of them, you will be destroyed, and you will bring trouble on the camp of Israel. You will cause it to be destroyed. All the silver and gold is holy. It is set apart to the Lord. So are all the things made out of bronze and iron. All those things must be added to the treasures kept in the Lord's house." The priest blew the trumpets. As soon as the army heard the sound, they gave a loud shout. Then the wall fell down. Everyone charged straight in. So they took the city. They set it apart to the Lord to be destroyed. They destroyed every living thing in it with their swords. They killed men and women. Then they wiped out young people and old people. They destroyed cattle, sheep, and donkeys. Then Joshua spoke to the 2 men who had gone in to check out the land. He said, "Go into the prostitute's house. Bring her out. Also bring everyone with her. That's what you promised her you would do." So the young men who had checked out the land went into Rahab's house. They brought her out and along with her parents and brothers and sisters. They brought out everyone else there with her. They put them in place outside the camp of Israel. Then they burned the whole city and everything in it. But they added their silver and gold to the treasures kept in the Lord's house. They also put there the things made out of bronze and iron. But Joshua spared the prostitute Rahab. He spared her family. He also spared everyone else in the house with her. He did it because she hid the spies he had sent to Jericho. Rahab lives among the Israelites to this day. At that time, Joshua made a promise and called down a curse. He said, "May the person who tries to rebuild the city of Jericho be under the Lord's curse. If that person lays its foundations, it will cost the life of his older son. If he sets up its gates, it will cost the life of its younger son." So the Lord was with Joshua, and Joshua became famous everywhere in the land. Chapter 7. But the Israelites weren't faithful to the Lord. They didn't destroy what had been set apart to him. So they did not do what they had been told to do. Achan had taken some of those things. So the Lord became very angry with Israel. Achan was the son of Carmi. Carmi was the son of Zimri, and Zimri was the son of Zerah. Achan and all his relatives were from the tribe of Judah. Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai. Ai is near Beth-aven, east of Bethel. Joshua told the men, "Go up and check out the area around Ai." So the men went up and checked it out. Then they returned to Joshua. They said, "The whole army doesn't have to go up and attack Ai. Send only 2,000 or 3,000 men. They can take the city. Don't make the whole army go up there. Only a few people live in Ai." So only about 3,000 troops went up. But the men of Ai drove them away. They chased the Israelites from the city gate all the way to Shur Baron. They killed about 36 of them on the way down. So the Israelites were terrified. Joshua and the elders of Israel became sad. Joshua tore his clothes. He fell in front of the ark of the Lord with his face to the ground. He remained there until evening. The elders did the same thing. They sprinkled dust on their heads. Joshua said, "Lord and King, why did you ever bring these people across the Jordan River? Did you want to hand us over to the Amorites? Did you want them to destroy us? I wish we had been content to stay on the outer side of the Jordan. Lord, our enemies have driven us away. What can I say? The Canaanites will hear about it. So will everyone else in the country. They will surround us. They will erase the mention of our name from the face of the earth. And then what will you do when people don't honor your great name anymore?" The Lord said to Joshua, "Get up. What are you doing down there on your face? Israel has sinned. I made a covenant with them. I commanded them to keep it, but they have broken it. They have taken some of the things that have been set apart to me in a special way to be destroyed. They have stolen. They have lied. They have taken the things they stole and have put them with their own things. That is why the Israelites can't stand up against their enemies. They can't. They turn their backs and run. And that's because I have decided to let them be destroyed. You must destroy the things you took that have been set apart to me. If you do not, I will not be with you anymore. Go and set the people apart. Tell them, make yourselves pure. Get ready for tomorrow. Here's what the Lord, the God of Israel, wants you to do. He says, people of Israel, you have kept some of the things that have been set apart to me to be destroyed. You can't stand up against your enemies until you get rid of those things. In the morning, come forward tribe by tribe. The tribe the Lord chooses will come forward group by group. The group the Lord chooses will come forward by family and family. And the men in the family the Lord chooses will come forward one by one. Whoever is caught with the things that have been set apart to the Lord will be destroyed by fire. Everything that belongs to that person will also be destroyed. He has broken the Lord's covenant. He's done a very terrible thing in Israel. Early the next morning, Joshua had Israel come forward by tribes. The tribe of Judah was chosen. The groups of Judah came forward. The group of Zerah was chosen. Joshua had the group of Zerah come forward by families. The family of Zimri was chosen. He had their men come forward one by one. Achan was chosen. Achan was the son of Carmi. Carmi was the son of Zimri. And Zimri was the son of Zerah. Zerah was from the tribe of Judah. Joshua said to Achan, the Lord, the God of the Lord. Mom! Hello? You interrupted me. Hmm? I thought you would wake up. My son, Joshua said to Achan, my son, the Lord is the God of Israel. So give him glory and honor by telling him the truth. Tell me what you have done. Don't hide it from me. Achan replied, it's true. I've sinned against the Lord, the God of Israel. Here's what I've done. I saw a beautiful robe from Babylonia among the things we had taken. I saw 5 pounds of silver, and I saw a gold bar that weighed 20 ounces. I wanted them, so I took them. I hid them in the ground inside my tent. The silver is on the bottom. So Joshua sent some messengers. They ran to Achan's tent, and there was everything hidden in his tent. The silver was on the bottom. They brought the things out of the tent. They took him to Joshua and all the Israelites, and they spread them out in the sight of the Lord. Then Joshua and all the people grabbed Achan, the son of Zerah. They took the silver, the robe, and the gold bar. They took Achan's sons and daughters. They took his cow, donkeys, and sheep. They also took his tent and everything he had. They carried all of it out to the valley of Achor. Joshua said to Achan, why have you brought this trouble on us? The Lord will bring trouble on you today. Then all the people killed Achan by throwing stones at him. They also killed the rest of his family with stones. They burned all of them up. They placed a large pile of rocks on top of Achan's body. The place has been called the Valley of Achor ever since. That pile is still there to this day. After the people killed Achan, the Lord was no longer angry with them. Chapter 8. Then the Lord said to Joshua, do not be afraid. Do not lose hope. Go up and attack Ai. Take the whole army with you. I have handed the king of Ai over to you. I have given you his people, his city, and his land. Remember what you did to Jericho and its king. You'll do the same thing to Ai and its king. But this time, you can keep for yourselves the livestock and everything else you take from them. Have some of your fighting men hide behind the city and take them by surprise. So Joshua and the whole army moved out to attack Ai. He chose 30,000 of his best fighting men. He sent them out at night. He gave them orders. He said, listen carefully to what I'm saying. You must hide behind the city. Don't go very far away from it. All of you must be ready to attack it. I and all those with me will march up to the city. The men of Ai will come out to fight us, against us, just as they did before. Then we'll run away from them. They'll chase us until we've drawn them away from the city. They'll say, they are running away from us, just as they did before. When we run away from them, come out of your hiding place. Capture the city. The Lord your God will hand it over to you. When you have taken it, set it on fire. Do what the Lord has commanded. Make sure you obey my orders. So then Joshua sent them away. They went to the place where they had planned to hide. They hid in the place west of Ai. It was between Bethel and Ai. But Joshua spent that night with his troops. Early the next morning, Joshua brought together his army. He and the leaders of Israel marched in front of them to Ai. The whole army that was with him marched up to the city. They stopped in front of it. They set up camp north of Ai. There was a valley between them and the sea. Joshua had chosen about 5,000 soldiers. He had ordered them to hide in a place west of Ai. It was between Bethel and Ai. The men took up their battle positions. All the men in the camp came to camp north of the sea, took up their positions. So did those who were supposed to hide west of the valley, west of the sea. That night Joshua went into the valley. The king of Ai saw what the troops of Joshua were doing. So the king and all the men hurried out of the city early in the morning. They marched out to meet Israel in battle. They went to a place that looked out over the Araba Valley. The king didn't know that some of Israel's fighting men were hiding behind the city. Joshua and all his men let the men of Ai drive them back. The Israelites ran away toward the desert. All the men of Ai were called out to chase them. They chased Joshua, so they were drawn away from the city. Not even one man remained in Ai or Bethel. All of them went out to chase Israel. When they did, they left the city wide open. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Hold out toward Ai the javelin that is in your hand. I will give the city to you." So Joshua held out toward the city the javelin in his hand. As soon as he did, the men hiding behind the city got up quickly. They came out of their hiding places and rushed forward. They entered the city and captured it. They quickly set it on fire. The men of Ai looked back. They saw smoke rising up from the city in the sky, but they couldn't escape in any direction. The Israelites had been running away toward the desert, but now they turned around to face those chasing them. Joshua and all his men saw that the men who had been hiding behind the city had captured it. They also saw the smoke that was going up from it. So they turned around and attacked the men of Ai. The men who had set Ai on fire came out of the city. They also fought against the men of Ai. So the men of Ai were caught in the middle. The army of Israel was on both sides of them. Israel struck them down. They didn't let anyone remain alive or get away. But they captured the king of Ai alive. They brought him to Joshua. Israel finished killing all the men of Ai. They destroyed them in the fields and in the desert where they had chased them. They struck down every one of them with their swords. Then all the Israelites returned to Ai, and they killed those who were left in it. The total number of men and women they killed that day was 12,000. The Israelites put to death all the people of Ai. Joshua continued to hold out his javelin toward Ai. He didn't lower his hand until he and his men had totally destroyed everyone who lived there. But this time Israel kept for themselves the livestock and everything else they had taken from the city. The Lord had directed Joshua to let them do it. So Joshua burned down Ai. He tore it down so it could never be built again. It has been deserted to this very day. Joshua killed the king of Ai. He stuck a pole through the body. Then he set it up where people could see it. He left it there until evening. At sunset, Joshua ordered his men to remove the body from the pole. He told them to throw the body down at the entrance of the city gate. They put a large pile of rocks over the body. That pile is still there to this day. Joshua built an altar to honor the Lord, the God of Israel. He built it on Mount Ebal. Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded the Israelites to do that. Joshua built the altar according to what is written in the book of the law of Moses. Joshua built the altar out of stones that iron tools had never touched. Then the people offered on the altar burnt offerings to the Lord. They also sacrificed friendship offerings on it. Joshua copied the law of Moses on stones. He did it while all the Israelites were watching. They were standing on both sides of the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord. All the Israelites, including outsiders and citizens, were there. Israel's elders, officials, and judges were also there. All of them faced the priests, who were Levites. They were carrying the ark. Half of the people stood in front of Mount Gerizim. The other half stood in front of Mount Ebal. Moses, the servant of the Lord, had earlier told them to do it. Moses told them to do it when he had given directions to bless the Israelites. Then Joshua read all the words of the law out loud. He read the blessings and the curses. He read them just as they are written in the book of the law. Joshua read every word Moses had commanded. He read them to the whole community of Israel. That included the women and children. It also included the outsiders living among them. Proverbs 9. Wisdom has built a house. She has set up its 7 pillars. She has prepared a meat and mixed a wine. She has also set her table. She has sent out her servants. She calls out at the highest point of the city. She says, "Let all who are childless come to my house." She speaks to those who have no sense. She says, "Come and eat my food. Drink the wine I have mixed. Leave your childish ways and you'll live. Walk in the way of understanding." When you correct someone who makes fun of others, you might be laughed at. When you warn a sinner, you might get hurt. Don't warn those who make fun of others, or they will hurt you. Warn those who are wise, and they will love you. Teach a wise person, and they will become even wiser. Teach a person who does right, and they will learn even more. If you want to become wise, you must begin by respecting the Lord. To know the Holy One is to gain understanding. Through wisdom, you will live a long time. Years will be added to your life. If you are wise, your wisdom will reward you. If you make fun of others, you alone will suffer. The woman called foolishness is wild. She is childish and knows nothing. She sits at the door of her house. She sits at the highest point of the city. She calls out to those who pass by. She calls out to those who go straight on their way. She says, "Let who are childless come to my house." She speaks to those who have no sense. She says, Stolen water is sweet. Food eaten in secret tastes good. But they don't know that dead people are there. They don't know that her guests are deep in the place of the dead. Psalm 97. The Lord rules. Let the earth be glad. Let countries that are far away be full of joy. Let countries that are clouds of thick darkness surrender. His rule is built on what is right and fair. The Lord sends fire ahead of him. He burns up his enemies all around him. His lightning lights up the world. The earth sees it and trembles. The mountains melt like wax when the Lord is near. He is the Lord of the whole earth. The heavens announce that what he does is right. All the people everywhere see his glory. All who worship statues of gods or brag about them are put to shame. All you gods worship the Lord. Zion hears about it and is filled with joy. Lord, the villages of Judah are glad because of how you judge. Lord, you are the Most High God. You rule over the whole earth. You are honored much more than all gods. Let those who love the Lord hate evil. He guards the lives of those who are faithful to him. He saves them from the power of sinful people. Good things come to those who do what is right. Joy comes to those whose hearts are honest. You who are godly, be glad because of what the Lord has done. Praise him because his name is holy. Now that it's done, I shall now do the Lord's Prayer. Please bow your heads. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as you have also forgiven our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. See you tomorrow. Bye.